Guys, welcome back to NFR Podcast. In today's video, we're going to be talking about 10 different rappers and answering the question, are they overrated or underrated, or maybe in some cases perfectly rated, and play along with us. Let us know down in the comments how you would rate these rappers. And thank you guys so much for all the love and support you guys have shown us on the NFR Plus channel. And subscribe if you haven't already, and smash the like button. But let's get into this, starting off with Kanye West. What are your thoughts here?
I think he's overrated by some, but underrated by others. And when I talk about Kanye West, I think that he has one of the greatest discographies in hip-hop history. He's a fantastic artist. A lot of his catalog is self-produced. He's multi-talented. Like, there's so much that goes into, Ye's creative bag that it's hard to make any argument against him. Maybe some of the projects in 2024. But regardless, though, he has almost a flawless record. The only thing that I don't like about the overrated conversation is that some people hold him to the same standard as Jesus Christ, and when I feel like when you get into those types of conversations, when the extreme fandom comes in, it's like, okay, let's slow our roll here a bit. He's not the greatest artist of all time. I think that there are, artists that have surpassed what he's done or that accomplish more than he has. And I think that he would admit that himself low key in some weird way.
Well,
but
that's what I was going to say. I'll stop you right there. For me, the only person that actually overrates Kanye West is fucking Kanye West himself. He's gone off on himself saying that he's the greatest artist that God has ever created. And he said that he's created 20 styles of music from the last 20 years. If anything, Kanye's the one overrating himself. But I will say this, at the end of the day, Kanye West is an incredible beat maker, rapper, and album maker, and to have that trifecta. And what I love the most about Kanye West is that he puts his entire heart and soul into every album, bro. He's the definition of making your art represent your life. Think about how he channeled feeling misunderstood by the public and the media into albums like Ye or My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, or his newfound faith in God with the gospel sound and themes on a Jesus is King. He really dedicates his entire life to making an album experience. And listen, bro, even in 2024 and the run he's been on as of late, all he has to do is play some fucking piano chords and I'm hooked already, bro.
Absolutely.
That's all it takes to get me excited again.
Well, I think it's just there's certain hypersensitive communities that either underrate him, where they call his music trash, or there's no value to it, or whatever the case may be. Then there's certain Kanye fans that hold him on, I said, the level of God. He literally has a song, I Am God. But at the end of the day, I think he's perfectly rated. I think for the general public, everyone knows how talented he is as an artist. And, there's a reason why he's considered one of the GOATs. But let's keep going on with this.
Perfectly rated for myself too. But Carti.
Okay, Carti. This one's interesting, right? Because for you and I feel like we see Carti in a similar light, if that makes sense to you. I think, he's a great artist. I feel like he has a great ear for production. He creates cultural moments. He has the ability to reinvent himself with every single studio album. He's one of the most in-demand artists. I just feel like there's a slight overrated.
Oh, thank God. I didn't think we were going to see eye to eye here.
No, I think he's slightly overrated.
We do.
Because, as a rapper, as, there's certain people that are holding him to, a similar standard to, what Kanye was, held to. And I think that that's what the new generation does for him. I think there's a certain pocket of fans that really overrate the fuck out of him. But I think that maybe when you do a general consensus, people are like, yeah, he's a great rapper, but at the same time, pas plus que ça. So it depends.
I think he's a little overrated. I think that, when you see publications like Complex putting him #1 for rappers in their 20s, or you see how many people put him in the big 3 of the 2020s decade, there's a lot of conversation of Carti being this generational artist. And while I do think that he has a lot of power as an artist, while I do think he has a lot of influence in the game, he is not one of the artists currently making the best music in hip-hop right now. And even when I look at some of the latest singles, I mean, to me, they haven't been amazing. They haven't been groundbreaking. They haven't been out of this world. So I get left a bit confused, and it makes me think maybe it's just a case of the generation he's in, where people are valuing aesthetics over the music, or valuing the persona over the music.
They are.
That's what it is.
But that's his game, though. That's his sauce. That's his gravy. And he'll forever be one of the best at that, at least for this new generation. I just think when I'm starting to see certain dialogues online of him being this crazy fucking artistic figure that, creates this high level art, don't get me wrong, bro. I've been bumping All Red since it's been coming out, but at the same time, it's I've heard records like that before, and I don't think that it's on the level of certain artists that people are comparing him to, let's say from their previous generation. So that's just how I feel about his music. But at the end of the day, for me, it's like I love Carti. I'll always love his music. I'll always value his art, but I think he is overrated by some. But let's go on to 21 Savage. This one's interesting, right? Because it's either you find people that, again, overrate him or underrate him. But at the same time, I think he's perfectly rated, though. I think he makes great studio album experiences. I think he's been consistent. I think that he has, really pushed certain things forward in his artistic value, especially since 2016. But at the same time, like, the features over the past couple of years have been kind of stagnant. It doesn't feel as memorable when you get him on a track. So as far as like 2024 dialogue, do you feel like, he's overrated, or do you feel like he's underrated? That's the question I kind of want to ask you.
I mean, listen, you could look at it two ways. I think that if I had to choose overrated or underrated, maybe I would say slightly overrated, just in the sense that I think that when it comes to 21, he's not LeBron in the sense that he can't play every position, bro. Like, he can't make a good melodic record the same way that he can't come at you with these exuberant vocal inflections and make them work. The same way that, the best version of 21 is getting him with that cold-blooded delivery and that monotone voice, which is a gift and a curse, right? Because it limits him in what area he could really strive in. But when you are getting that side of 21, he can rip up a verse. He can give you clever one-liners. Like, he's really shown a lot of talent over the years, and he's had a great evolution throughout the catalog. That being said, is he truly one of the best trap artists of all time? I don't know if he's top 5 or top 10, but he's one of the best of this generation, and I think he does deserve a lot of credit. So I think perfectly rated is fine.
I think perfectly rated for 21 Savage is a great response, but let's keep going on with this ASAP Rocky. As of late, I feel like people have been underrating him.
I think he's underrated. I don't often, I should say, see people giving him his flowers for what he did in the 2010s decade, for the catalog he left behind, for the way that he changed the sound of cloud rap, and how he went on to be one of the pioneers of psychedelic hip-hop as a whole.
But that's what I think that people have a hard time understanding with Rocky, is that he's so multifaceted with so many different types of sounds that he could bring in, right? Whether it's cloud rap, or whether it's his, take on southern rap, or whether it's him doing boom bap records, whether it's him, experimenting with his vocals on something like a Sundress. Like, he is so artistically gifted, and also in the way that he packages his albums, the way that, it breeds a new movement. Like, you have to understand, like, this guy is a top dog. Like, this guy is someone that's genuinely been at the top of his game since the year 2011, at least in my opinion. So, what nitpick do you want to give with him?
I think that there's a narrative that started after the Family Matters line, where he rapped, I ain't even know you rapped still, because they only talking about your fit again. And I do feel like there has been this perception of Rocky since he took a break from music, which was, 6 years long, where it's okay, he's more of a fashion icon than this great hip hop artist. But no, if you've really been tapped in, and if you've really been following that career, you know how much value he brings to an album experience. And I think there's certain rappers on this list that are just rappers, but Rocky he's an artist's artist.
Absolutely.
Like, he really has visions and
crazy,
just a crazy palette for sonics. And I think he's one of the most creative rappers to ever come out of New York, and he's a top 100 rapper of all time, and he's underrated for sure.
And look at his eye for talent as well. Looking like at Joe Fox, for example, all over at Long Last ASAP. Even a Playboi Carti. Think about where his career is at right now. Carti's still releasing records under Og Records. I'm just saying, dude, like, people have to put respect on Rocky's name. Like, don't take this shit lightly.
That's underrated.
He's underrated. But LIl Uzi Vert, you ask me this maybe in 2018, I say underrated. You ask me this in 2024, I say overrated.
Yeah, I say overrated.
I just think that, like, especially with Eternal Take, looking at the Pink tape, like, the catalog has taken a dip. I feel like he's scrambling a bit to find, like, a new sound and somewhere where he could strive in. And, like, even for the Pink tape, it doesn't have the legs that Love Is Rage 2 does, and the proof is in the pudding with that. And I feel like, personally, He is a super talented artist. He could do it when he wants to, but at the same time, like a lot of records have felt non-complete on the Pink Tape. It just doesn't feel like he's at the top of his game, but yet you still have people that hold him to the same standard as, let's say, a Carti right now, for example. You know, I feel like they're at two completely different points in their career and even like output at this point. So I feel like he's overrated in 2024. Maybe he gets underrated in 2025. Who knows? But at this point, I think he's overrated.
Yeah, I feel like Uzi is. I mean, it almost feels like he's been trying to like move on from one level to the next, and I appreciate the effort of what he did on Pink Tape, where it's okay, I'm gonna make a song that has this Jersey Club inspiration, then I'm gonna make a Chop Suey remix and go heavy metal route. But like he's at a crossroads, like you say, he's scrambling, he can't find that sound, and it's led him to probably have to revert to that old sound that we got from him back in 2016, which makes sense because he's saying that his next album is going to either be an Eternal A Take 2 or a Love Is Rage 3. So I feel like with Uzi, he's not a marquee artist like he once was, in the sense that when he drops an album, he's going to have the whole world's attention. And I just feel like there's been an awkward phase of him progressing as an artist and trying to expand his sound that just hasn't worked out, bro. Like, one of the best songs he's made in recent years, Flooded the Face, that was a song from an old era. Like, that wasn't even new Uzi. So I think he's overrated, and I don't know if he will go down as a hip-hop legend at this point, because there was those talks. The way that he came in and changed the sound with emo rap and all that he did there was talks of that, right?
Was there talks, really?
There was.
I don't know if there was talks.
I'm just saying.
I think, like,
yes,
I get what you're saying,
the legendary status is more in question now.
No, he's done some legendary shit.
Doing legendary shit doesn't make you a legend.
He's pushed the needle forward.
You got to have a full career of
but there's full
highs.
of artists that are legends that I feel like that are still coined legends, but they've had a dip off in their catalogs. I think that like what he's done for hip hop music and the way that he pushed it forward, especially from that 2016 to 2019 standpoint, that was a legendary run, and it was for multiple years. So that's my opinion, guys. Let me know how you feel about that conversation in the comments. Let's go on to Doechii. So, shout out to Keaton Smith, man. Keaton, I gave him a call before the album dropped with Alligator Bites, and I was like, you know, he was explaining to me like, dude, like, you're gonna be moved by this project. Just wait for release day. And like when we had done the live album reaction with our community on Patreon, I was like, fuck, bro, this is a serious mixtape. This is a serious fucking project. And even going back to it now, like how much profound writing you're finding from Doechii within that project, you know, how much substance and flavor you're finding from her within that project, I feel like she is heavily underrated at the moment. She is one of the best MCs that is out right now.
And there was conversation about her being potentially overrated because there was that statement that came out from Top Dog where he's like, oh, this new Doechii project reminds me of Section 80. And I think he took that too far. But I don't want that to be the narrative that guides people into thinking that she's currently being overrated. Like, that's just, you know, it's the boss showing some love. You know what I mean? That's all that is. So put that aside and think about how Doechii can make pop radio hits, how she can make storytelling tracks like The Nile is a River, can make great traditional hip-hop records like Boom Bap, can make energetic bangers like Nissan Altima. She is one of the most versatile and exciting rappers that are on the rise right now. Like, to me, she kind of has like the creative mind of someone like a Tierra Whack, but has the confidence and the bravado of a Nicki Minaj and the delivery that has just as much of a powerful impact.
And she's also a great vocalist as well. There's that aspect to it as well. She's able to create those R&B records while also being able to dominate in a hip-hop lane. And it gets me super excited to see what she's going to do with her next studio album.
That's the thing, is that we see artists like, for example, a Lado or a Sexy Red getting a lot of the shine, where it's like, bro, at the end of the day, you're having someone like Doechii that can do all that they can do and way more.
And better.
Let's give her more spotlight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she needs it. But let's keep going on with this. Next up on the list, by the way, underrated, I guess.
For Doechii, absolutely.
It goes without being said. Okay, Lil Yachty. So, it's tough, bro. It's a really tough conversation, but...
It's not that tough.
He's overrated.
He's really overrated. I think a lot of the overrated conversations for myself and people that we speak to really started to happen after Let's Start Here. And I think that people treated it like he really reinvented himself as an artist and that he became this wizard
Give me my flowers, Lou. Keep pouring.
I'm not gonna give you flowers because from the beginning I gave Let's Start Here a good album. I think it's an average album. I think it's cool. He did what he had to do. He used his vocals for good to use them over these experimental rock beats. It was fun, but just because it was refreshing and exciting to hear come out of Yachty doesn't mean that it was a groundbreaking album that changed the face of hip hop.
No, but it was it was a good experiment for him though.
But I'm just saying, I feel like even if you want to go to Yachty's denser tracks like a Secret Recipe or a Cold Sunday, I'm getting offbeat rapping. I'm getting weirder inflections than I've ever heard before. I'm getting just mediocre rapping at large, bro. At the very best. That's to be nice, to say mediocre rapping. Not only that, but
it's passable.
You go to the James Blake album where, again, it's Yachty wanting to continue that, diverse artistry catalog, and he weighs down the track list with his weaker vocals.
Yeah, he took a back seat on that project. I felt like it probably would have been a better James Blake solo
bro,
album.
don't get me wrong. Like, I like the ambition. There's potential for the future, but him cozying up to Drake is not gonna make me suddenly think that he's a musical wizard, bro. I'm sorry.
No,
he's overrated.
No, but
currently.
even at that, like, he doesn't have the catalog to back it either. I think that, there's places where he strives though. I don't want to take everything away from him. Like, I think he's a good producer. I think he's a great curator. I think he does have, like you said, passable and good rapping performances on stuff like The Secret Recipe. But at the same time, it's like, bro, like, what are we talking about? So let's keep going on with this Ice Spice. Is she, like, people know.
That's the thing.
She's like perfectly rated. Like, you know what you're getting.
With Miss Spice, it's like people don't rate her high at all. So can you really say that she's overrated?
But she's not underrated because, like,
maybe she's not underrated. Yeah,
she's perfectly rated. You know what the fuck you're getting out of a Ice Spice song. You know what you're getting out of her debut studio album. Like, you get it.
I think people say overrated because they see like the festival opportunities that she's getting. They see like the features she's able to have on her records,
yes,
and
like,
there's that conversation of like, well, why her and not so and so? But people have to understand that, bro, she has a fun personality. She's marketable in terms of just her branding, her image, whatever the case may be. Like, there are reasons aside from the music why she's in the position that she's in, and that's just the state of the game in 2024. Like, people have to realize that. That being said, you don't need to be spiritual, miracle, fucking crazy rhyme schemes to be considered a good artist nowadays anyways. Like, I don't want to have that narrative come into play either, because Ice Spice is making people get fucking lit in the club, and like, there's people enjoying the music to some degree. So if anything, you could lean more towards underrated than overrated. But like you said, I think she's rated well. People know what's up.
Yeah. It's like,
you know what it is.
I don't think there's anyone calling her fucking Shakespeare either. Let's get real here. But okay, how about Chance the Rapper? I feel like, listen, I think that
people say overrated because of the fact that he was a Grammy-winning artist, and then he dropped a bad album, and then he became sort of like the poster boy for dropping whack music.
But I feel like he's underrated in 2024.
He is.
He's underrated in 2024.
Yeah.
The singles leading up the Starline Gallery have been phenomenal.
Yeah, the whole Starline Gallery era has been impressive, and I just feel like Chance is at a place right now where he's like, well, I don't give a fuck about the people that, talk down on my name. I'm here for the real fans, and I'm going to cater to them, and I'm going to make music that's true to me.
Of course, but that's what you have to do, though.
I just feel like he's going back to his roots musically now and making some of the best music of his career. So
that's it.
It's an exciting time to be a Chance the Rapper fan, even if the audience has decreased a little bit, I think, inevitably. It's still a great time to be a Chance fan, and I think he is underrated, and people have to, again, put respect on his name, because he's a much better artist than a lot of the hottest names in hip-hop right now.
Oh, of course. One of the most talented rappers from the 2010s decade, bro. Let's not kid ourselves. I feel like there was miscalculations, obviously, with what he dropped in his discography. That's obvious. We've had those conversations about the big day, and even for you and I, like, we look at Coloring Book and we're like, okay, that's an overrated project. That is an overrated project. Yeah. But him as an artist, that was never in question.
For sure.
Even as a vocalist, he's fantastic. The weird and quirky flows. He has great meditative performances with his pen. Like, he could really do it all as an MC. I feel like he's underrated in 2024.
Yeah, all right, let's go on to Destroy Lonely. I want to start off by asking you this question. If Destroy Lonely just stopped releasing music, what would hip-hop be missing out on?
I could have. That's an unfair conversation.
No, I'm asking you a question. You don't have to say it's unfair. You have to answer. What would hip hop be
missing
missing
out on his music. I don't want to say like, bro, get this guy out of here, and then after that, like nothing changes. At the same time, like
that's kind of what I'm saying. I think that for as long as I've been listening to Destroy Lonely, I've been hearing too much of the influence come out of the music.
I think
too
his
much.
fan base knows it. I was going under some of our posts on Twitter, and it's like the whole thing of him trying to do this rap thing for 4 years and then get out can never be more evident. You know, like it feels a bit rushed. It feels a bit forced, and it's like you're making the same records as you were making 2 years ago, and that's never really a good feeling for a fan because you wanna get more out of the artist, right? And you want to see him grow, you want to see him evolve, and I think he could still do that. But at this point in time, it's like I think he's perfectly rated. I think people haven't been crazy about his music, and I think that people, have been saying like he needs to step it up right now. Like he's not one of the most rated rappers out right now. There's no fucking way.
He's definitely overrated. I always see him in the conversation of him being one of like the torchbearers and one of the artists
way,
going to be
bro.
the future
But that's
of hip
pure
hop.
fucking delusion.
I'm
Like,
sorry, bro. And like the thing going back to the influences, obviously the Carti one's there, but even going back to some of my favorite and catchier lone songs, something like A Veteran, let's say. I listened to that song with my eyes closed. I'm like, this kind of sounds like Trippie Redd. Like, there's a lot of similarities with the vocal inflections, with the flows. Like, I always hear like Lone being compared to some rapper because of how similar he sounds to them, and it's not just for Carti. Not only that, but every time I put myself through one of these experiences where it's 20 plus songs for a Lone album, I want a refund every time, bro. The guy can't make a good album, and I just don't think he has the skill set to really. Be in the conversations that people are putting him in.
That's
I
true.
don't.
But at the same time, though, I have seen a lot of the narrative switch on him in 2024, especially after this newer effort. Just, honest, and, that's kind of my opinion on it. But like you said, Catalog's weak, has a hard time carrying his own album experiences. And like you said, it's hard for him to find his own sound. Now, if you ask me someone like a Ken Carson, he's perfectly rated. That's someone that's really doing some fucking crazy groundwork. I feel like he's going to be the torchbearer maybe at one point for Opium and like bring a whole new fresh sound, especially after Great Chaos. And that was a focused and concise performance from him. But guys, let us know in the comment section. As always, where do we get it right? Where do we get it wrong? And which artist should we bring in next for this series? Thank you so much for watching this entire episode, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.